Hey friends, it's Michelle with Morristown TV today. I'm here with Mr. Danny Case. He is the liaison officer for the city of Morristown for the fire department. And I'm sure you're very familiar with Danny because he basically is one of the main faces attached to the first fire truck. We haven't done a segment in a while, so let's go ahead, Danny, and talk a little bit about the first fire truck. Do you have any updates?
Yes, the first fire truck is running and driving. Every chance we get to drive it, we drive it. And the kids love it, and we still use it all the time.
Well, I'm sure with COVID and everything, you've not been able to be out and about as much with it, correct?
No, we had some plans to use it for touch truck and stuff. All that has been canceled at this time.
Well, we're just going to hope and pray that things get back to normal really, really soon. Well, now, if I'm not mistaken, I think people actually have an opportunity to donate to the first fire truck. Is that still a possibility?
Yes, if you'd like to donate, we still take donations.
Well, fantastic. Because of people's generosity, I guess that's why you've gotten the truck up and running as much as it is now, correct?
That's right. If it wasn't for the public and the community, we wouldn't have the truck the way it is.
Well, we all love that fire truck. We all played on it at Cherokee Park numerous times. Well, now, in addition to Danny being the liaison officer about the first fire truck, he also, let's just say he knows a lot about the fire department. And it just so happens that the fire department's got a big birthday this year, right?
Yes, in 1896, February, the city formed the fire department. The fire department actually started in July 1896 as a volunteer, and this year we are celebrating our 125th anniversary of the Morristown Fire Department.
That's a lot of candles if you make a cake for that, right? So, is there anything in particular you're doing to celebrate this big milestone?
Yes, we do, and T-shirts for the guys. If you see the guys out in public, they will have our 125th year T-shirts on. We are also doing challenge coins for all the guys and just letting the public know we've been around 125 years.
Not you in particular, though, right?
No, not me.
Even though you may feel like it at times, right?
Yes, that's true.
Well, let me say to you on behalf of everybody out there, and I do mean this with all sincerity, thank you for what you do. I know having just come off the heels of, the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and seeing what it is that firemen do, you have my utmost respect, and I know you do our Channel 7 family as well. Well, in addition to the first fire truck and being the liaison officer, you are also a historian for the fire department. Can we talk a little bit about your office and all the cool stuff that you have?
Yes. I've been collecting fire stuff since about 87, 88, and I have accumulated quite a collection. Here in my office, I got over 35 helmets, alarm boxes, leather buckets, fire extinguishers, 50-plus badges, ladders, just everything, nozzles.
You can tell he likes his job, right? I mean, I think that you could say that. Well, I know I was looking around your office before we started talking, and let's talk just a little bit about all these, and I know Tony's going to zoom in on them later, about all these amazing helmets. So where all did you find those, get those?
I have got helmets started back in the 20s all the way up to the present, and they are made of aluminum, leather, composite materials, and I probably got close to 50, 60 in my collection.
My goodness. Well, I noticed that you've also got some, like, uniforms and coats and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about the transition from what gentlemen used to wear when they were fighting a fire as to what they do now.
When it goes back to the colonial days, the firefighters back then, they wore top hats that was round all the way around, just flat. So from there, it went to when they got in a fire, the water would run down back at their coats and stuff. So they start putting the long bills on the back. So that's how they come with the long bills on the back. And from then, it just continued on. You can still get leather helmets today.
Well, I know that we actually had some wonderful firefighters to demonstrate some of the outfits. And, I I didn't coin the phrase, but I said, you've come a long way, baby. Compared to what these gentlemen used to have to wear, there was no protection at all, right?
No, the coats and stuff back then, it was just to keep the water off you. It was no fire protection, no heat protection, nothing of that nature. The coats nowadays, they are not fireproof, they're fire resistant, so you can resist the heat for a certain amount of time before they start deteriorating.
Well, I think too, firemen used to once upon a time when they went in, if it was just like a raincoat and the hat and maybe an axe, that's all the equipment they had, right?
Yes, ma'am. You brought what you had with you. You have a truck with hoses, buckets, axe, and some water. And most time, the fire trucks back then did not carry water, so you had to have a creek or a water system, or a pond or some type of static source of water to get the water from.
Okay, well, let me ask you something. And you being the way you are about the fire department, you're probably going to know this. What is the purpose of a Dalmatian in reference to, like, back in the day, everybody always put Dalmatians and fire trucks together? Let's talk about that, just because I'm curious.
On the Dalmatian, a Dalmatian got a very sensitive nose, and they just look like they've been in a fire. It was nothing really pertained to the fire department, but they just came with the dogs, and they actually just came with the horses. They was good around the horses, gentle.
So probably the first fire chief somewhere had a Dalmatian and took him everywhere with him, and that's how it happened, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's the story that we're going to go with. Well, let's talk just briefly about some of the other, I don't want to say knickknacks because that takes away from its importance, but some of the other items that you have here in your office museum.
I got a bed key. That's from colonial firefighting days. That's what they used to use to take beds apart in the house back during the colonial days. The most expensive thing in a house is your bed. You had a gentleman that is called a bagger. His job was to go into the house, put everything you own into a bag and carry it out. You could not carry the bed out. So you had a special tool to pull the dowels out or the screws out to take the bed, collapse it to carry the bed out. So it's called a bed key.
Wow, that's fascinating. I've never heard about anything like that. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of these other things. Like you have in your display case, and then there are bukus of things back here behind me, badges. What about all these books? What's in all the books?
The books is the history of the fire department. I got yearbooks. I got books talk about different brands of fire trucks, serial numbers of all the different fire trucks, a New York City history, just anything pertaining to the fire department. I got books on.
Well, again, you obviously love your job. You take it very seriously, and you have a lot of respect for it. So thank you, like I said, for what you do. And, I would almost assume that when COVID clears out, and it's going to because the power of positive thinking, if you ever wanted somebody to come in and talk to your organization or maybe your kids at school or your church group about the fire department, I think this gentleman is probably the one to do it, right?
Thank you. I would.
Well, you are more than welcome. Is there anything else before we wrap up? Is there anything else in particular that you want to touch base on about all your stuff?
Just tell you a little history. Back during the day, you had leather buckets. Back then, the buckets would be hanging around the cities, and they had a flat bottom on. And the people would come into the city with horses and Model T cars, and when they got done using the bucket, watering the horse so the Model T was overheat, they would take the bucket and throw them back in the car and drive off. So if you look at the newer buckets, they had round bottoms on them. They did that so people, when they went to water a horse, the bucket would fall over so they wouldn't steal the bucket.
Oh, wow. See, again, these fascinating facts. And who else is going to know this except Danny Case? How cool is that? Danny, thank you so much for talking to me about this. Again, I had no idea that you had this collection. I had no idea that you were such a historian above and beyond the first fire truck. So, again, thank you for what you do. Thank you, again, for being a fireman and what you do with that. And thank you, guys, for always staying tuned to Channel 7 Morristown TV today. When you tune in with us, you find out about really cool places and people right here in your community. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.